The government promised us the national broadband network would revolutionise Australia's internet, but the rollout of the NBN has fallen way short of that.
I built this company over 20 years. It's thrown us back 10 years. We've lost $160,000 in income.
Complaints are up 160%. That's totally unacceptable.
It's the infrastructure project they said would be as momentous as the Snowy Hydro scheme.
It is the most ambitious, far-reaching and long-term nation-building infrastructure project ever undertaken by an Australian government. With speeds of up to 100 megabits per second, 100 times faster than those currently used by most people.
So have Australians been sold down the river?
I think it's a mess. I think it's a potential lemon and we could be paying for it for generations.
Take war veteran Kerry Collison. He's a book publisher who needs not just the internet but his landline for his small business. The phone hardly works though, and he calls the NBN a debacle.
March, April, May, June, July and August, it was total. And we lost $160,000 in income. And
in desperately trying to fix it, he's been shunted back and forth between Telstra and NBN for months.
It's like Groundhog Day. Every time we have a telephone call from someone, it's probably a Filipino or someone in India, and we start from scratch every time.
NBN handballs it to the telco handballs it back to NBN, and poor Muggins is stuck in the middle with no internet or home line.
3AW broadcaster Neil Mitchell constantly has talkback callers jam the phone lines with NBN complaints.
Many people are telling us that they're paying more and getting a worse service than they used to get with ADSL.
Sunbury family John and Sabina Van Stelton had to move their family and the business from Townsville to Melbourne because of what they called poor NBN in Queensland. But when they got to Melbourne, they still couldn't get connected.
If we lived in the middle of nowhere, I'd understand it. But we live 40 kilometres from the major city in Australia and we can't get any internet.
They say it's destroying their business. They've lost long-term customers and prospective ones as well.
I know it's costed jobs, so I've had to lay people off.
And the hurt hits not just the hip pocket.
The kids get behind with their schooling because they can't do what they've got to do at home because they've got no internet.
Gavin Langridge is from Jimboomba, south of Brisbane. He says the NBN sunk one of his businesses and could be about to swallow up the other.
It's cost me well over $500,000 with two businesses and nobody's made a genuine attempt to, compensate me.
And the argument over all of this is right outside your front door. The former Rudd Labor government promised to run NBN fibre optics right to your home. But when the coalition took over, they wanted to save money and instead, in a lot of neighbourhoods, created nodes or hubs where the cables would stop and meet up with old copper wiring, which would take the internet to your home from there. Experts say that's where your internet speeds jam up and they have to transfer to that old infrastructure. The government says it inherited this mess.
Communications Minister, good morning.
Good morning, Carl.
This is a $50 billion disaster. Do you feel any way responsible or are you just going to play the blame game this morning?
Well, Carl, it's not a matter of playing the blame game. What we inherited from Labor was essentially a failed project.
And there's been an astonishing admission.
We're supposed to be a commercial enterprise, so can you ever see that money being returned to the taxpayer?
Well, Chris, I think there's a reasonable question mark over that.
Rachel Thomas is from the Australian Consumer Communications Advocate Network.
We get consumers contacting us who are having difficult experiences. They're not just with NBN, but general telecommunication services.
She suggests NBN customers should take their complaints straight to the telcos.
Ask for compensation. You can ask to exit your contract, or you can choose a different provider.
To book publisher Kerry, the word compensation is laughable. For his $160,000 loss, he was offered $1,500.
It's not just impacted on me, it's impacted on all my authors. And a lot of my authors are elderly people.
So what now?
Somebody needs to take control of this and shake it down, and that has to be the government.
get the bloody thing right, because what they're doing at the moment is not working.
It's as if there's a firewall there of bureaucrats whose primary job is to avoid resolving the issues. It's just not good enough.
We did approach the NBN for comment, but they declined.